Clash of Clans podcast, OG, episode 43.
Skilly beep boop beep boop skilly beep.
And welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am your host, Scotty827, joined by your other beautiful, the boldly go where no man has gone before, the tip to the dog to the 20, Tipdawg20.
Tipdawg20.
Tipdawg20. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. We have been getting into it already. And actually, this is our 43rd episode sequel-ish kind of redo. And it's, we lost an episode last week. To me, it was it was like one of the most horrible moments of a lost episode where we were just at the end of the conversation and I went to stop it and figured it out. And that was really rough. But you know what? We never did have our lost episode all this last year.
Yeah, 43
surprising.
episodes straight, which is good. No mishaps.
That is probably a record for Scotty827 for sure.
You had a few lost episodes in the OG Clash of Clans, right?
Yeah, I did. And some of them I have to go back to now because there might be some in there that I could salvage now. Like with AI to like take out like the I remember one episode, for example, I recorded with somebody. It had a really bad fan in the background or something that you just couldn't, like it would have drove people nuts.
Right.
You know, something was happening over and over and over again. And so, and then it was just like, can't do it, or somebody's, because you'd have to record on like Skype back in the day. And it was, the tools weren't there. And something would happen. And, even like the wiki guys conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you this before, but it's when we recorded that, the call recorder, it was like a new program, and the sides of the conversation got all messed up.
I remember you saying something about that on the episode after that. I think.
It was,
if I remember right,
rough. So it was like they were kind of overlapping, and some of them was like drawn out, like kind of like a tape. And so I ended up having to just do a ton of work. So it's been really nice since the return to like see all these fancy new tools that just work really well.
And obviously it's only going to get better from here. I mean, with AI, wow.
Yeah.
Like the tools and I mean, it's exciting from a YouTube perspective because you can create content where you would either have to pay a videographer or a photographer or a graphic designer to do that work for you. And obviously there are conversations that need to be had that are great about using AI for something that maybe should be done by a person. I know that there was a big discussion in the past about authors who decided to use AI to create the covers of their books and whether or not that was ethical. And, all of that, like, that's a great discussion to be had.
Yeah.
But that being said, the tools that are available right now for YouTube videos and content creation, like, they're just exploding. And I'm excited to see what ingenious people are going to be able to do with that. Like, it's an exciting new frontier that we're coming up upon that literally no one has gone before,
Yeah. I think it's cut my podcast work. And it's not that I do a ton with it. Like, but if like, an audio, if you have to clean it up or whatnot, it's like so much faster to just like, oh, I know how to fix that. Oh, I can use this just to fix like, oh, it's only coming out of the right side. Okay. I know how to fix that quick instead of having days of problems. And it gives you like, I just think it gives you more tools to kind of, make your vision happen. And I think if everybody's vision is happening, even from, so maybe the artists who aren't doing it, who wouldn't get that thumbnail, they're they're making other things that are um is valuable. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. No,
or
exactly. Yeah.
and
And I remember, for example, when I was doing the Clash Tips podcast, like it would take me 2 or 3 or 4 hours sometimes to go through the episode, to cut out the pauses, the ums, the whats, like all of that. And literally now you can just put it through an AI filter and like it will cut out all the, the ums and the whats and the pauses for you in a split second. So that's literally nearly 2 or 3 hours of work that we don't have to do anymore just because we have these new options and new techniques available to us.
I still
That's
do it
just
that I
amazing.
still do it that way though. I still do it the
Yeah.
hand way. The only thing I'll really use AI for, because I get a little nervous about what it would change. You know what I mean? Like, or um I don't want it to mess with my voice, like in terms of like what
You
I
do have such a
say.
sexy voice.
No, no, I mean like even like in writing, you know, like I want it to be my stuff, or like even what I cut, I want it to be um that's kind of part of like the author thing, I think.
Mhm.
Um but I do that by hand, but like background noises, things like that, like fans or clicking, I can like just pop it through. And before I used to, I remember in the old days, I did a nerding out with somebody, and they clicked their pen thousands of times, and and it's fine, and you don't notice it when you were recording,
But you hear it
but
when
you
you play
hear
it
it.
back.
And I'm thinking people in their cars are gonna go nuts, you know, with this. And I spent, I don't know how long editing out as many of the clicks as I could possibly get out of there. It was wild. So it's just cool. And then you know, because then you can save time doing certain things, and then get to the things you really want to be doing.
You know what I had this thought, something that I've been thinking about is the proliferation of AI, and people are worried that AI are gonna replace humans and, for instance, YouTube content, like, we're gonna have all of this AI YouTube content that's gonna flood the market. Personally, I think that AI content is only going to improve the chances of a person who's actually willing to sit down and do the time to do a YouTube channel to present on a certain topic. It's going to make them bigger because I think you're going to have this separation of people who are willing to watch a real person, watch them make life mistakes, see the things that make them human. Like
Yeah,
I don't watch somebody because they're perfect. Like I watch
right.
somebody because I see the mistakes that they make and I learn
Well,
from that
I
and they
watch
learn
you
from
because
that.
you're perfect.
You're so funny. I'm very far from it. But I think that you're going to have this almost verification of content creators that people are going to flock to because we're going to be overwhelmed with all this perfect content with AI. And then you're going to have these creators maybe who aren't quite perfect. They're not quite exact, but they're human. And
Yeah.
we can relate to them and
And
feel that sense of connection
yeah, I was
because
just
they're
gonna say,
human, not AI.
I think it's the connection. It's right there. It's like you're connecting with somebody, I think, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um, well, welcome back to the Clash Clans podcast, where we talk about everything Clashy, uh, including some of the AI stuff. Clash AI, Clash GPT
Mm.
would be kind of interesting. I think it'd be kind of fun to ask GPT some Clash questions.
See if it has that knowledge.
Yeah, I kind of want to see what it could do, like what army it would suggest. Um, but just to kind of test it out, be kind of fun.
Well, I did in a video a while ago. I compared pieces of equipment. I put it in Chat GPT, and then like I input all of the features of like the giant gauntlet versus the rage file versus the mustache versus the earthquake boots, and I put in all the numbers and all of that, and then it gave me a breakdown of what Chat GPT thought were the best pieces of equipment purely from a statistics standpoint. So that
Did I
obviously
see
doesn't
that?
necessarily translate in
Do you
game.
do you remember what it said?
So it was the video on the giant gauntlet, and I don't know if you remember last December. It was when you were getting back into the game, but the Giant Gauntlet was introduced during the Cookie Rumble event, and there were lots of players who did not grab the Giant Gauntlet during the Cookie Rumble event. And so afterwards, they were obviously upset. They're like, it's not available anymore. This is before Epic equipment was being introduced in the trader shop for gems. And they're like, well, my life is ruined because I don't have
Yeah.
this epic piece of equipment in order to do my attacks. And so I wanted to show in that video that you don't need the Giant Gauntlet to do well in Clash of Clans. There are other pieces of equipment that can be just as OP. You just have to use them in the right way. In fact, I input this information into ChatGPT, and even ChatGPT agrees that the Giant Gauntlet isn't necessarily all that. Obviously, it can work very well in certain situations, but if you use this piece and this piece, under these conditions, then you can actually do better in these situations than if you had the Giant Gauntlet. So don't be overwhelmed by the fact with sadness, like, oh my gosh, I missed the Giant Gauntlet. These other
Yeah.
pieces are just as good and can be used, and it's verified just based on the statistics whenever you input that information into ChatGPT.
I think I think that was the first event that after coming back, that I bought a pass for.
Oh, the event pass?
Yeah, because I got that gauntlet
Mhm.
um right away. And so it must have been right then. I'm just trying to think as you say that, like trying to kind of place it.
The video or the
No, just like when I came back with that event, because I remember getting the gauntlet. I must have just came back at the perfect time
you
where
did.
I did not miss out. Like when I saw the epic equipment, I thought, oh man, this stuff had been out for a long, long time at first. Or the equipment, I should say. But it must have been right at the same time about I was starting back up or close to it.
Yeah.
Would it have been last November, December?
Yeah, so I think it was so the Cookie Rumble event, I think, was introduced alongside Town Hall 16, if I remember, or right after maybe. So I think Town Hall 16 was introduced December
December.
4th of 2023. And then I think the Cookie Rumble event was very soon after that. So the Giant Gauntlet would have been mid-December, whenever those 2 weeks or so, whenever you could actually get that piece of equipment. So that's probably right around the time when you were coming back.
Yeah. Wow, that's my second account is starting to get the equipment now. And I could see from I would hate to if I came back right now, I think I'd feel really overwhelmed like with the
Right.
equipment, trying to figure it out. It does seem like they're, seen in the shop, they've had the other pieces of equipment up now. So I feel like you could make some headway, but that ore situation is still the thing that's gonna limit you to catch up, I think.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure if we discussed this last week or not, but it was the right decision for Supercell to put other pieces of Epic equipment in the shop for the most recent event. It wasn't a Cookie Rumble event. I can't remember what it was called. It's been so long ago,
Mm,
but that was definitely the right move on their part because obviously prior to that point, the only way that you could get those pieces with gems, and they allowed the free to play player an opportunity to get these pieces without having to spend actual real world money. And I think
yeah.
that's going to be key for them going forward is how much and at what level do they include the free to play player, because the free to play player is just as important as the player who actually spends money in the game because they create that content. They create that base that the paid player can attack, and they create that competition, and they sign up all their friends and they go into clan wars that the paid players can go against the free to play. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I definitely think it was the right decision on their part. And hopefully they'll continue that going forward so that players don't have to pay real world money to get these epic pieces. I definitely think that's the right decision.
Yeah, I agree. And as you're saying that, I'm kind of thinking to myself too, like, okay, so now I have a second account. Um, as much as I try not to. I mean, not really, but like, I
Not
can't still
compared.
kids still can't find Britney Spears. Um, uh, but I think also it enables second accounts a little bit. So my second account, I'm not spending a dime. It is pure free to play, but it is kind of necessary, or it is really almost, important, I guess, to make the game more social. Because like this past CWL, we had Ore Wars going on.
Mhm.
We had in a clan that kind of takes lots of different town hall levels. We split to different clans, and so like to be able to travel back and forth, or to leave a clan to go do something else to come back to it. If there weren't
Huge
second
hassle.
accounts, this would be so tough. And not just, I mean, my account is just kind of like I kind of think about it as a portal, right? Like I just zip back and forth
Right?
between L and L2. Um, but the type of, Chewy's account became leader, so we could go over there, and people over there had to be accepted, and so it's like we wouldn't have been able to do it if we wouldn't have been able to, if we wouldn't have had any second accounts, or it would have been a lot tougher. And
Yeah, and
so
I
maybe this gives it, an incentive, because like that's that connection point. It's like kind of use that as a key to other places, I think.
right, and they definitely need to improve on that. Like we talked earlier about the importance of community and removing these pain points. Like it's a huge pain point for a member of the community to move from one clan to another and to move back. But I mean, Supercell set it up like there's a dearth of ore, and so
A
essentially, if you want to
dearth?
be good,
What?
there
There's
a famine of
okay.
ore. It's where you have to you have to
I'm
have it to
Darth Vader.
continue play your music. Chew would have been proud of my attempt.
Yeah. Strong you are.
But I think the ability to move between clans smoothly and to keep your statuses, like we've discussed all of this. We discussed this in our Christmas episode of what we want from Dear Santee Supercell, but improving the community experience and reducing the friction of being able to connect with more community members should be high on their list because again, that's the reason why people stay. Like
Yeah.
that's the reason why people play this game.
Yeah, exactly. Like you come back because there are people depending on you, and you're part of a team. And it's kind of, I think, like we talked about, I think it's that handshaking with other clans, to move back and forth, especially uh the promotion thing. And I thought about this, right? Like that, we were talking about in that Dear Santee Supercell. Um, if you left, right, like keeping your co-leader status or your elder status, I think it would be, you would get a 3-day shield, or like a 7-day clan shield. So you could go to the other clan and you could either, accept their shield or not. But after 7 days, either way, not being in the clan, you would lose your shield.
As far as your status is. So whether you're co-leader or elder, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it would just be attached to you for like 7 days, unless like I left the clan. Do you want to exit give up your role? It could be
Right.
a second thing. Yes. Or no, you go to a different clan, but after 7 days, if you haven't come back, you lose it. Like it just goes away. So people can't just come, accept, and then like go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Or something where it like cools down. So that way, like, yeah, we could go back and forth, with L, or like on L's, like House of L, right? So like then we'd look down like the clan list, and here's our clan. These we have 50 badges. You know, remove badge instead of kick out. There's kick out and there's remove status.
Right. Yeah.
Remove role. So when you kick somebody out, remove role, and I don't know. I'm just
No, I
trying to
love
help
it. I
Supercell.
just think they definitely need to focus on this. Like I definitely think this needs to be a priority. rather than a new troop, like, or a new spell or a new building. Like, I think that the community features need to be priority. Hopefully, they continue to do that. Hopefully they continue to make that focus.
So what else did we talk about last week in our
In our lost episode.
in our last episode? Uh, in retrospect, I'm kind of glad that we had that episode for just us. In a way, I think it was really cool to. I mean, it was horrible to lose it, but it was a really good episode. Do you want to kind of give a rundown of the news?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we could talk about. So the last episode was actually like, it got a little emotional at the end. I didn't know if you wanted to go there yet.
Oh yeah, we whenever.
Uh, so Scotty and I have been in conversation about this for a long time, but Tipdawg20 is going to be focusing on some things outside of Clash, and we can discuss that if you want,
Oh yeah,
Scotty.
yeah,
But
it's
in
exciting.
order for me to focus on this venture that I'm wanting to pursue, I've decided to take a break from Clash for a little bit. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be gone forever. I love Clash. I love the game. I think Supercell's done an amazing job with it. Very happy with it. But every now and again, you need a break from something that you love so much in order to focus on another passion that you have. And that's what I'm going to be doing for a little while. So this will actually be my last episode for a little while, at least. Scotty, you're going to keep the train running, like
Yeah,
keep putting the
I,
coal in the fire.
I'm gonna keep on keeping on, doing the best I can to put out episodes. And last week when we talked, it was just it was really good. For me and Tip to just catch up on everything, and um, it's just been an awesome year with Tip, and thinking back, like I was thinking about it this week. I don't know if I ever told you, but like when I got back in the game, and you were like, "Hey, do you want to catch up sometime?" And we were gonna meet. I had no idea we were recording an episode.
Oh,
Like, or it was like right before that. I was like, "Oh, we're recording," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." But I thought we were just gonna catch up, and so like this last year's kind of like just been like a story, right? Like I could tell the story of like all these coincidences and like these random things that have all kind of come together to like to put us here, like, and I think everybody has heard a lot of it, but just how we've kind of uh fallen into the it's like fate in a way, I think, like, and it's just been awesome. And the whole episode, and this episode is going to be titled it, um damn it, is if it's not going to be titled it, is I just like looked to see if it was recording. Oh my god, that's what that's what DeLoreans are for. And what I was telling Tip last week was that when Tip told me, it was like, oh man, it's just like it's sad, right? And then like, okay, I'm thinking about it, and all of a sudden I realize he's not dying. You know, I still have his text number, and it's not like there's really much changing, except for we're not gonna be recording and probably warring together for a while. And the episode titles, that's what DeLoreans are for. And when we're done with this episode, Tip is gonna hop in the DeLorean, and he's gonna go to the future this time and send the DeLorean back to me. And at that point, at some point in the future, hopefully, I'm sure, we'll cross paths in the podcast world, and I can tell you all that's new. And
You can
um,
catch me up.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or um, since you're going to the future, you'll get to figure out what all the new heroes are before I do.
I'll be able to see that.
Yeah. So, do you want to? So this is not like um, I'm sure the scandals will break out. Um,
No,
not
yeah,
really.
and just to emphasize, like, this past year of podcasting, so I've been doing Clash podcasts on and off for the past almost 4 years now, um, and this past year has been the most enjoyable. Like, you are such a great person, you're such a great guy, and I know you don't want me to say all this, but you are as genuine can get, like, you give great feedback. It's been an honor to learn with you. Like, I kinda feel like we have been traveling together on the mountaintop, like, we're climbing up Mount Everest, and
Yeah.
I've gone up Mount Everest before, and, like, even in the description of the podcast, like, it was, the infamous Tipdawg20, Tipdawg Doc Brown, who's kinda guiding Scotty up to the mountaintop. Now we're here, like, you literally are almost a max Town Hall 17. Like, we've learned so much together over the years, and I used the example last week of Master Oogway, who's on Kung Fu Panda,
Oh yeah.
and how Kung Fu Panda wasn't necessarily the greatest kung fu fighter in the world, but he was able to be led on this path, and it got to the point to where it's time for Master Oogway to move on, and Kung Fu Panda, which is Scotty827, literally became the master. And I that's how I
Wow.
feel. Like, I feel like you have learned so much and you've gotten to the point to where maybe before you didn't recognize the techniques of funneling, or you didn't recognize pathing as well as you could have. And we've talked it through, we've gone over a lot of the details, we've learned together, and now you're at the point to where you can watch a Clash of Clans video by somebody and learn from it and improve your own attacks and just take it and become the master. Like that's kind of how I feel at this point.
Well, nobody's ever called me a master before.
a a pro
No,
master.
and I wouldn't. No, I think you've shown me things like I just have not ever been able to see. Um, and you've taught me so much about so many things, and our friendship has grown, and it's just been it just is amazing journey to see how you are like as a teacher too, like, and how you approach. And you've just, I think one thing I think I talked about this last week. I mean, this is kind of just like is, you just made me see styles in attacks. And like, I think one of the things in your videos is always like, if it works for you and if it works for this, you're great. You're an amazing teacher, a great friend, a great co-leader. And so I, I can't even believe that I'm actually, and just to be honest, my attacks just look much better than they are, because if you would have seen the plan in my head before I went in, but they do sometimes clean up all right. But just the how far you've brought me and just connected me with things too. And I'm I kind of think about like story wise, it's like, the end of Back to the Future, and now Tip's got to go to the future. Doc's on his journey, and I'm excited to see, for you to see, when you're not going to see me progressing in war every day or whatnot, uh, to see what happens. Or without you, I just fall apart.
No, no, not at all.
I'm
No,
like,
not at all.
I'm the destitute attacker that ever ever since Tip left, I have not had the attacks
No,
in me.
no, and I think key to remember too is there are so many great voices in Clash that we have to listen to and learn from, myself included. Like, you, for example, you had Tyler on a few weeks ago, and just the perspective that he was able to
Yeah,
bring
he's
was
great.
different than mine. Like, different things that I learned from by listening to the podcast. I know different things that you've learned from. Like, Chewy has been on and he's given some great
Oh
perspectives.
man.
Swim was on last week. He gave some really interesting perspectives. Like, I almost feel like Tip's voice, like, it's almost tiring to hear the same perspective
No
from Tip
way.
over and over again. Like, there are
No,
new
everybody keeps
voices.
asking where you're at.
There are new voices and new powerhouses out there that the Clash of Clans podcast is going to have the opportunity to interview and talk to and move on to, like, greater and better things and greater heights.
Well, I
That
wouldn't say greater and better.
you're
I would say different and new and different voices. Maybe. Never greater, Tip. Jeez. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think I enjoy it. We were doing episodes like all the time, and then as you got busier, it was like I started doing the nerding out, and I just always think it's so fun to talk to anybody about Clash to see how they approach it. Like how do they see this base? How do like I only have one perspective on things, and it obviously needs some work. But like, what are they seeing? What are they looking at? How are they, you see these guys that can just smash or just destroy. How are they seeing something? Like,
right.
what are they missing? And it's just like a puzzle. And you get to learn and meet like all these cool and different, things. So uh, I'll be, I'll continue to, it'll be fun to bring you new, content, but I'll miss you for sure.
I'll miss you too.
Um, do you want to talk about your new
Yeah,
venture?
so one of the reasons why I got so busy in September is because I've always been very passionate about financial concepts, um, money, and a wise way to use it. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording about I was really big into the FIRE movement, which is financial independence, retire early, and
Arsonist.
do what?
Arsonist?
Or-
No.
learning how to set fires.
Hmm.
But well,
He's since been arrested.
learn from my mistaken ways.
Yeah.
But for years, one of the big pieces of that movement is the ability to get your savings and investment rate up really high. And I was able to have that rate at about 50%. And then about 2 years ago, we moved into a new house that was more expensive than what we were, you know, living in before, and I wasn't able to save 50% of our income. And so, like, I kind of put it in overdrive this past fall, and I just started accepting work left and right in order to try to get that savings and investment rate back up to 50%. And so, like, I was just overwhelmed with all the work that I was doing. And that's not necessarily a good thing. And I think that that's something that I want to present in this new venture that I'm going to be doing is balance. Like, sure, saving and investing is super important. Having, strong financial foundation in your life is super important, but also not working yourself to death and not being overwhelmed with things. And it was just like nonstop work, and it was trying to do the YouTube channel, trying to keep up with all my accounts and Clash of Clans, trying to record the podcast, and you saw that,
Yeah.
and you understood
And
like what I was
have
going through.
you have a lot you had a lot on your plate too. I mean, like, when Tip is saying playing other accounts, um, he's also playing other roles, like, and filling in, it for war attacks in CWL, and Chewy, people are playing multiple accounts to like fill in things that we need, and it's a lot of pressure and responsibility and work to do that. It's
Yeah, and I think that L has gotten to the point to where that's not as needed, but in the early days, like in September and
yeah,
October, like, it was needed that all 7 or 8 of my accounts was in CWL in order for us to make numbers and to ensure that everybody had a chance to participate. But, like, L has grown to the point to where it's we're not relying on one person anymore with 8 accounts, or like, we
I
even
oh man,
Chewy, like,
I'm
Chewy would do Angry
scared people are
Wookiees.
gonna burn out.
Well,
Really.
and like, Chewy doesn't have to use, he was using like 10 of his accounts in order to do attacks and angry Wookiees. And so, like, the need for that is not as strong. We've had other people who have come in who have multiple accounts. Like, I think All Hell has 3 or 4 accounts that he's willing to use. And so the burden has been shared to the point to where that's not as necessary anymore. But at the time, like, it was overwhelming. That
Yeah.
combined with, the mental health burden of trying to organize all these things in my life at the same time. But
Podcasting, YouTubing.
right.
Yeah.
But point now is, and Scotty and I have been discussing this for a while, but
I'm
like
very
I
excited for you, but
I
about this, by the way.
thank you.
Very excited. I think I think it is leading to where your life is taking you. That's what I believe that. So
I,
I'm
I
excited.
I have this passion for explaining financial concepts to people and helping people out with maybe things that would seem basic, but we talked about this before. A lot of people are scared to, you know, make strong financial decisions in their life because of the fear that what they've been doing is not good enough,
Yeah.
and just taking those baby steps and learning the basics of financial investing, of budgeting, of being able to save, like what
Mm.
makes sense. And so I've
Knowing
decided
which questions to ask, even
exactly.
knowing what's the what to even what's the starting point. How do I figure this stuff out? So
So I'm going to be pursuing a YouTube channel that's going to be financial based. It's going to be from the perspective of Tip, like as crazy as my brain is, as crazy of a personality as I have, like the stupid, like the last Clash of Clans video
you
that I did was on the electro boots, and I don't know if you remember or not, but like I had this little stupid point where I'm talking about different shoes that I wear, and I had the idea of sticking my feet up in the air with different shoes. Like, so I want to bring that, and not all people find that interesting or funny, but Tip does. Tip thinks that that's absolutely hilarious, and that's how my brain works. And so I want to bring that perspective to a really intense and overwhelming topic to a lot of people, which is financial health. Um, and so that's what I'm going to be pursuing. I'm going to be pursuing it for a while. And one of the reasons why I decided to step away from Clash was because it was too hard for my brain to play Clash and to continue to see these topics that I wanted to cover.
yeah.
Like Supercell's been introducing new pieces of equipment and new troops, and there've been new attacks that have developed, and I kept on seeing, oh, I want to make a video on that, and oh, I want to make a video on that. And
Yeah.
I've just decided to take a break from Clash, focus on this new venture 100%, get it up and running. And then, maybe 6 months down the road, I can come back to Clash if I can balance the two in an appropriate way.
Yeah, because you see things and you're like, oh, or you see a different video or something and you go, you know what? I'd like to do something on this, or
Exactly.
I'd like to talk about this, or ooh, that gives me an idea. And then your creative juices get flowing down one direction and it kind of takes you um down the other. And I think like uh people who know you, I mean, we kind of see we already see in some ways your financial stuff at work in the way that you've done your videos. I mean, you are talking about uh resources, like how to maximize resources, how to structure things. So that's stuff that you've been doing, you've already had in your kind of throughout your content in a lot of ways too, I
That's,
think.
that's true. I never thought about that, but you're right. I look at things from that perspective. I think that's one reason why strategic rushing, for
If
example,
you have your
is
savings
so
account,
amazing. Do what?
so you could just do a whole video on how to do financial health through the eyes of Clash of Clans.
Maybe I will. Maybe I
Your
will do a video like
your
that.
savings account is like your elixir collector. Your interest rate is the amount per year or hour or whatever.
You can upgrade your savings account and your investment account just like you upgrade your gold mine. That way you can collect more gold and be a max Town Hall 17 whenever you retire.
Yeah, you got to think about what you want to be as a Town Hall 17, right? I mean, you could get up there, but you're going to be horrible in wars. So
You don't want to
you want to
rush it.
build up your, yeah, you want
Build
to,
up your offense before your defense.
yep.
Make sure you
Do your
focus on your
elixir
heroes.
upgrades first.
Make sure you find powerful heroes to help support you in your journey.
Yeah.
I
It'd be
love it, but
like inflation. It's kind of like the electro boots. No.
but I'm super excited about it. Like you have given me so many ideas about what I want to pursue, and
It was fun this week because, we talked about it last week, but we weren't going to really talk about it on air. And then
mhm.
we were talking about it afterwards, and then all week we were kind of texting back and forth, and I was thinking a lot about it too, like, oh yeah, he'd be good at this, and in these things. And so it's kind of, even though we lost the episode, it's cool that we're able to talk about it now, and that we've um I don't know, even been able to brainstorm. I think that's been
Yeah.
pretty
So
fun.
I think the biggest piece of advice that you've given me is just let it all hang out. Like, i- i- there are going to be people who like it. There are going to be people who don't like it. But as with my Clash content, like the goal has always been if it helps one person,
Yeah.
I do it for the enjoyment. I always did Clash content. Like I always did we always did this podcast together. I always did Clash YouTube videos because I enjoyed doing it. Like I loved doing it. I had so much fun. And I figured if this concept that I see that maybe somebody else doesn't see, like if it helps one person, then it's
Yeah.
worth my time to produce that content.
Well, and like thinking about your Clash content, you have been like the guide, like, hey, here, kind of presenting options, right? And saying, nobody can tell you how to do it, but these are kind of like your two ways of approaching here, like benefits and all that. And I think that always it kind of comes down to like when you step out on things like that, it's like you go, um, maybe like, who am I? Or, um, what do I have to say? But you have done the work in so many ways, and I got to preview some of Tip's content, and it's really cool. Um, and I think like you have a lot to say because of how you live, your background, and really kind of just who you are as a person is somebody who genuinely um just wants to connect and help others, right? Like your goal in your content is just to make great content, like and to speak to others about some of those things that you don't know about, or afraid to ask about. And I think you're going to do really, really well at it for sure.
Thank you.
And my base is going to be screwed. No,
No, no, no, not at all.
no,
Not at all. Yeah, and
no, I'm
honestly, like
just,
I have left Clash of Clans before with no intention to come back. Um, this time around, honestly, literally the only reason why I'm stepping away is so that I can focus on this new venture and this new content. Like the way that my brain works, I've if anybody's listened to me at all over the past 3.5 years, like that I think in very black and white concepts. And I for a while tried to make videos and pursue this new path, but I kept getting caught up with Clash and how much I love this game. And we both agree, like it's an amazing game. Supercell has done a great job with it. It's engaging, like it's fun, it's strategic, and I just need to step away from that so that my brain can click over almost like, an AC/DC connection,
yeah.
not the band, but like the electric connection where it's literally switching off of one connection to another connection. I can focus, and then once I can get this going, I do hope.
You like to pour yourself into stuff.
Right,
I
exactly.
think that anybody that feels very passionate about stuff is it's like that, I think.
And it'll be good. Like it'll be good for me to get away, um, focus on this, and then hopefully, like I do hope to come back. I don't know if that's gonna be 6 months. I don't know if that's gonna be a year. Like I'm not exactly sure, but I don't plan to stay away forever. Just long enough to where I can get this going and pursue this passion. completely and wholly with 100% of my effort.
Yeah, I'm just so excited for you. Like, I guess you guys don't know this, but well, Tip and I were talking for probably almost an hour before we were just blabbing, talking about this stuff, and
Throwing around ideas.
yeah,
Yeah.
just I'm just really um excited for you. Do you have like a um idea of when you're gonna start launching content? I don't know.
So, well, I already launched the first video. It was kind of a more generic video, but it just kind of described my journey a little bit,
I like
especially
that
with
one.
a specific personality, and how my perspective has kind of changed over the years, and how I will perceive things moving forward. I have a second video that I'm finishing up editing and production on now that I hope to launch tonight. And then you gave me a few ideas that I definitely want to start, but I already have a list. So, um, my list of Clash content, like if I would keep it in the notes, I would have a new idea
Oh
for
yeah.
Clash content. It was over 100 ideas long.
Oh my
I've already
God.
started that list for this new YouTube channel, and I have 20 or 30 things on there that I'd like to cover.
I have to
So
upgrade my storage plan.
so it'll be fun, and the limitation, obviously, right now is time, being able because it takes a long time to
Being a
research
woman
a
of the
topic.
night is oh, I mean
And being able to edit and make sure that my facts are right, like, and all of that takes time, and so that's the one limiting factor, which again goes back to I was
yeah,
spending hours per day on Clash of Clans and getting my Legendly kits in and getting my war
killing
attacks
it.
in and and doing co-leader stuff,
Yeah.
and so this separation will give me the opportunity to focus on something that I hope to be a passion and something that I can be engaged in for a very long time, and then add Clash of Clans back in later on whenever I have things a little more balanced and I'm able to do both things at the same time.
Yeah, that content is really like thinking about you just kind of from all the time I've known you has been just something like so central to you. You know what I mean? It's part of our conversations. It's part of just kind of your approach on things. I think that's really cool. I'm excited for you. I really
I'm
am.
excited. I'm excited, we're gonna have to hop on, not to do podcast episodes, but just so you can give me more ideas.
Oh, anytime. This brain just won't shut off. Um, for sure. Yeah, it'll be fun to catch up too. And like, GCBC's been kind of taking a break, but he's still around.
Mhm.
Still social, so that's
Yep, and Chewy stepped up. Chewy was the war general for this past
wow.
CWL, did an amazing job,
And,
by the way, huge shout out to
yeah.
Chewy, and
Yeah,
we
way to
came the
make it just
closest
look easy.
that
He
we've
just
ever come to promoting to Masters 1, and then from honestly, so I personally think that once L reaches Masters 1, it won't be a problem to get to Champs 3, just because we have such committed and focused individuals in the clan. Like the improvement that I've seen and the feedback and the communication between players, like it L is on the next step to greatness.
yeah,
Like
there's it's just incrementally you kind of see this shift of like not a shift but growth, I guess. Like your team's really working well together. You get to that rhythm. People in the clan are like looking for new attacks. They're like hitting. I look at I look at them and I'm kind of blown away. Like wow, I got a lot of catching up to do. It's just so cool to see it, and I think next CWL, I think we're going to be doing the 15,
mhm.
um, and kind of uh looking at that performance like kind of throughout the month to start to build to that 15 team to get a real tight competitive. That I mean that changes like every month or whatever, but based on performance or whatever. But how are we going to get to that? how are we going to be fulfilling for everybody, in that to have that competitive, to have the fun, um, and and I think we're gonna do some work in
I think you're gonna
2025.
knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
One of the really awesome things, and this is 100% you and what you have built, is that people come to House of L because we're a very casual clan. Like we're all about community. We're all about communication. Like it doesn't matter if you get a 1 star. It doesn't matter if you have a life event. You have to step away for a little while. Like the community is still here. But players who show up in L who like that, it's not all about intensity. It's not all about the competition. They come as a casual player and then they start to see the excitement and the fulfillment of being more competitive. And everybody who has come as a casual player has stepped it up and
Yeah.
grown to the point to where they've just improved their skills in such an amazing way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think like and I think that's we were doing a lot of chatting this week. I think it is like a lot of people, cuz like on the podcast, like it is not, we don't want it to be an intimidating place, but we want it to be a place where people come who want to be better, who want to, be participating and stuff. And so like you go into a war and if you're giving it your best shot, that's what we want. That's,
Right.
if you're
Just give it your
part of the
best.
team, yeah, giving
Yeah.
it, that's engaged,
Yeah.
and looking to improve, and to kind of want to be part of the team that we want it to be, that kind of has evolved into like um beasts. Some
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool. And like we've got some 15s who are hitting 17s and stuff, and they're gonna be, upgrading and coming into that. So there's like CWL will do in different places, so that we can get all the different town halls in. Um, it'll be realistically though, let CW also be Town Hall 17s now. It's just kind of like where we're at and stuff. So
Yeah.
there's limitations on town halls, but if you're engaged and you're wanting to like improve and be part of a community, you're welcome in the House of L, um, or House of L2,
You know what I'm looking forward to?
House L Reloaded.
I
What's
I'm
that?
I'm looking forward to Scotty827 becoming pro in 2025.
I'm gonna do it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it.
You will,
I'm gonna.
and
I
it's
don't
gonna be
know though,
amazing.
because I did that Memorial War, uh, the Hero Memorial War.
Mhm,
Big shout out to Crystal to Join podcast, also for their 150th episode, which
mhm.
is awesome. Congratulations. But they had the Hero Memorial War, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm sure they're going to want to like give the whole rundown. But I attacked on it, and it was on stream, and I hadn't done that in a long, long time. Oh, talk about stage fright.
Nerve-wracking,
Oh
yes.
my
"Oh, I gotta
God.
pee, I gotta pee. Oh, hold on, I gotta pee."
Yeah, it was like I was like halfway through the attack, and I was just like, whoa. Like this, whew, my heart. And the second one, I felt better about it. I like just shut everything off. I'm like, you're just doing your regular attack. But it was a really fun event to be a part of, and big shout out to those guys um, for having me. So
Yeah, and I did like, I wanted to, apologize. I wasn't able to make the Hero Memorial War. My wife and I were traveling over that time period, but, um, Hero was a very, important part of my life before he passed. I did a couple episodes on the Clash tips with him. Um, Wizards don't eat yellow snow. So, Scotty, if you're wanting to learn how Hero did the Blizzard, go back and listen to that episode on Clash tips. And like it's in Hero's own voice, like how he does the Blizzard. So,
awesome.
that one, and then, of course, we did the episode on gamer mental health. Mental health is something that's really, really important to me, something that I struggle with. Um, and to hear his voice on how he would handle mental health, like, we would, message each other. He was kinda like my mental health buddy. He's definitely missed. So I hate it that I missed the war, and then I'm stepping away for a little while, but very thankful that Crystal DeJoin has decided to remember him and to do this on an annual basis, and
Yeah,
Hero is remembered for sure.
what an honor. And it just kind of reminds you like being there too. And I know you've told me tons of great stuff about. I mean, we talked a lot about this in the Lost episode,
Right.
um, too, which is one of the sad parts about losing it. But those episodes, like that mental health episode, and just that legacy, like being over there, that he still continues to impact people. Um,
In a
just a
big way.
testament to like, well, and the fact that people show up to honor him, like, is just it's not surprising, but it's just kind of a beautiful thing to me. Like, an online community coming together, um, around somebody who's had a lot of impact. I just think that's just a really beautiful thing.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's also a reminder to pursue your passions because, like, you never know, um, like, you never know when your last day on earth is gonna be. You never know when it's gonna be time to move on. Like, pursue with all of your heart the passions that you have, and that's just inspiration to me.
yeah. And so, thank you guys, again. Really beautiful ending. And I'd look forward to hearing about it on your guys' podcast. Um, any last thoughts on that tip?
No,
Well, uh, kind of thinking about everything. It's kind of a how do you how do you switch topics? Um, if you were okay, so now that you're going to be getting into the time machine, uh, are is there any advice you have for my attacks? So this is like, okay, Doc, you're gonna get in there. You gotta you're it's This is like the line of the movie, right? Like where you're gonna, what do I have to do? Remember, Marty. Remember, Scotty. What do you think about? What do you think? Like just overall, what do you think I need to do?
So I think the one thing, and
You can
I'm a decent attacker. I know I cringe, and I'm very thankful that you think that I'm an
the
amazing
train.
attacker.
The train is. This is the end of the Back to Future 3 when that train is coming. Tap. You only have a little bit to tell me. But I need no. Just
I think the one thing that helped me the most was I would leave the clan and go to FC clans, so friendly challenge clans. So there are clans out there that you can go and people are posting FCs nonstop. And so basically you go to the clan, you post an FC, and then you wait for an FC to be posted and then you attack it. And I haven't done that much like in the past year or so, but in past Clash Life iterations, I would go to these clans and I would just do hundreds and hundreds of attacks over a 3 to 4 hour period. And I think that was the thing that really helped me get to be a decent Clash of Clans player. Like, obviously not amazing, but like a player
oh,
that can recognize pathing, and like you went up against a lot of different bases. And like there are clans out there where you can just go and just play Clash of Clans for like 3 or 4 hours at a time. And maybe not even that, maybe go for an hour and just
yeah.
do FCs, FCs, FCs. And people, like, there are people in L who are willing to do, FCs, but unfortunately, with a lot of us, like we all have the same bases and we don't update our bases as often as we should have. And so going to these FC clans gives us the opportunity to see new bases, look at new perspectives, try different attacks, and nobody's watching your replays. So it doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you do complete crap because nobody in that clan
No.
knows who you are
Yeah.
or cares who you are or cares if you
Yeah.
one starred or got, 90% two star. Like you're just there to focus and practice.
Yeah, I think
And
now that CWL is over, I think like CQ Revolution, Tyler over there, like they're doing FCs and uh since I had the leader status, um it's hard to move, right? Like you gotta make sure nobody's leaving. But I think now that CWL's over, I'll just be popping over because I've been doing those legend attacks. And if I run out, it'd be kind of nice just to go hit for like an hour. Just like boom, boom, boom.
right,
That'd be awesome too on the treadmill, actually.
that and then also Legend League. Like you have entered Legend League and doing 8 attacks every single day,
That's fun, kind of.
like for years, like that has had a massive improvement in my ability. And I've never gotten super high in the rankings or I've never had just absolutely amazing days, but hitting all of these different bases in Legend League, like 8 per day, like that's going to improve your ability to attack, I think, in a massive way versus just hitting out in the wild. There's nothing wrong with just hitting out in the wild for loot, but in
Yeah,
Legend League, like that's actual war practice. Like you're looking at a base that has a CC, that all of the defenses are attacking. Like you don't have, an Inferno
something
Tower that's
down.
upgrading on a base, anything like that. But you're hitting 8 times a day in Legend League. Like I really think that you're going to see massive improvement from that as well. Not that there's a lot of room for you to improve,
Oh,
but I think that you'll
I have a
see.
lot of.
You're I
I
think
mean,
you're
no,
going to
real.
see
I
it
think a
tough.
lot of it is like just understanding like the fundamentals and like the mechanics a lot to like every little thing like just makes you a little bit better at understanding the game. Oh, okay. Like just even this week, like dropping for the spirit walk. I was asking Swim, I was like, do you drop it so it lands on the 6? Or how do you
Mhm.
and Tyler, we were doing an aura war together and he's like, I drop it on the 7 so it lands on the 6. He teaches me that 5-10%. Like right all of a sudden I've got way more control over my invis by doing, but that
That one
translates
little
to,
change.
yeah, just like in these mechanics of like I hadn't thought about the drop versus the the
Right.
effect. So it's really cool. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm 25% up the hill, I think.
Something else that I would do that I think was really helpful to me was I would go into Legend League or I would go into war and I would look at my attacks and I would critique my own attacks. And oftentimes, if I didn't 3-star, I would know exactly why I didn't 3-star. Maybe I didn't get the invis down on the warden in time and he died early, or I didn't funnel. I left up a gold mine that I didn't see while I was doing my attack. Like I go back and I critique my own attacks, but there will be times when your attack you thought that it should have 3-starred, but it
Yeah.
didn't. And that happened plenty of times. And I would go and I would post the replay in clan chat and I would say, can somebody tell me why this didn't work? Like, was it the entry point? Was it I didn't get enough value out of my king? Like, what was it? And I would get that feedback, and that would help me in a massive way as well.
That's a great point because I haven't been I've been rewatching my wins sometimes.
Hmm.
But I haven't been critiquing. I've been thinking about what I did, but I haven't been rewatching and saying, "Oh yeah, if I would have." I've been working really hard on just getting over the hesitation. Like there's been a 2 second, oh, where do I drop it now? Kind of thing. I'm starting to get over that. So,
And
but
the
that's
last thing, so sorry, go ahead.
no, no, sorry.
So the last thing that I would do is I would go through all 8 of my Legend League hits and I'm not sure burnt base is still an option now. I think they're back online, but there's also you have to pay for burnt base. There's also Find This Base, which is a free option. But I would take screenshots of each of the 8 legend hits or the Legend League bases that I would hit. I would put those bases in burnt base or on Find This Base, pull it up, and I would see how other people hit that same exact base, and I would learn from each of those 8 attacks, and I would just watch those replays and say, "Oh, I totally could have entered from this side. I didn't even think of that." So
Hmm.
literally, you're watching your Legend League attack, and you entered from the left, and you take a screenshot of it, pull it up on findthespace.com, and then watch it. And they entered from the right and got so much more value that if you had just entered from the right, so that way, whether you come across that base again down the road, you know how to hit it. Or number two, if you come across a base that's like that, then you have a better idea of how to hit it. Because, I mean, as we've discussed on this podcast, base ID is of supreme importance with Clash of Clans, and being able to see, oh, I've taken out this type of compartment before with just my king and a Valk to help with skelly traps, or I've taken out this type of base before with a giant arrow, taking out the air sweepers and air defenses. Well, what does it look like if somebody hits the space with root riders? And so I would learn lots of different perspectives just by putting those bases into Find a Space or Burnt Base, if that's still an option.
Yeah, that's
That's a lot. It takes a lot
no,
of
and
time.
I'm sorry. I was as you're talking about it, I was just thinking like, I'm seeing like same bases, very similar things, and I was thinking,
Hmm.
I could be screenshotting also to if I find one that's like really particularly cool. Um, I did have a question about. So I'm at like 5,400 trophies. So it's like the January 12th right now.
Hmm.
So it's still early. What would you if your base was doing well, how would you know? Like what would so like you probably every base is going to get threed, right? Sometimes. But if you're what would you think a good base would be performing at? Is it
Uh,
defensively?
so I think Tyler, whenever you interviewed him, like he gave a really good breakdown of this, and I would agree. So really, from 5,000 trophies to 5,500, you're going to see a variety of abilities. Like you're going to see people who have no clue what they're doing, who dump all of their e-drags in the corner. You're going to see people who maybe have not been playing Clash of Clans as long, but they're still pretty good, and they, sometimes will through your base, sometimes they won't triple your base. And then at 5,500, right around there is when you're going to see an uptick of 3 stars on your base. So if you're getting 3 star more than 5 times a day, really, and you're less than 5,500, probably need to look at getting a new base, just because at that level, the skill isn't as high as it would be 5,500 and up, right?
Okay. Yeah. I think my base is doing pretty well actually.
Well, we
That's
heard
why I
on
was
the
that's why I was
we
what's that?
Oh, no, I was to say we heard on the Crystal Join podcast last week that Ghost Knight is actually building bases
Yeah,
now.
that's exciting.
So maybe, and that's an idea. And I had not started this yet, but I was definitely going to start doing this. Buying a new base at the beginning of every Legend League season and just kind of seeing how it performs. And these days, like there are so many options as far as base building goes. I'm sure Ghost Knight would cut you a deal, right? But just
Yeah.
getting a new base at the beginning of Legend League, and then kind of seeing how it performs throughout Legend League. The only unfortunate part about Clash of Clans, as far as the defensive side, is like I'm not a base builder. It's like most people are not base builders, so we don't have a lot of effect on that side of the equation. Like pretty much the side of the equation that we can affect is going to be the attacking side and getting better as an attacker. But as far as a defending perspective, like I think having a new base every Legend League season or something that's working. And then once you get above 5,500, like I would expect your base to be 3 star no matter what anyway, 5 to 6 times a day. Like it's just The
Wow.
attackers who are higher in trophies are just better at base ID, being able to pick out where to enter from. They're really good at using their troops. So no matter whether you have the most amazing base in the world or not, at 55, 5,600 trophies, like it's going to be hard to defend anyway, you know?
Okay. Well, I'm sitting. Well, this morning I had, I think, like 50. I was at like 5,400. So, but guess what my defense is? If you were going to guess how many
At
defenses,
5,400,
yeah, in the last
uh,
2 days. And so there's only 2 attacks left today.
I would say 50% hit rate, maybe at 5,400. 50% hit rate, you think? Am I way off?
I only got one 3-starred once yesterday,
Oh,
and
wow.
I got 3-starred twice today.
So it's lower than I was expecting.
Yeah, my base is holding.
And you may have just an absolutely amazing base as well, you know?
It's just that internet base that I downloaded and I keep adjusting it a little bit.
Moving the traps a little bit, retrapping.
I've really kept the traps mostly the same. The flinger, just minor adjustments. But for some reason, it just oh, and then I copied one of the cores that's like a really hard core to like or
Mhm.
compartment. I just kind of copied that one and put it into a different compartment. Um, and so there's a lot of like 90%. Well, not so much today. I got a couple 390, three post 90%, 200%.
And something that you can do at the especially, like, below 5,500 is you can kind of have a troll base a little bit. So, invis towers are key to this, and you'll see, like, more trolley bases pop up where there's a really compact core with multiple invis towers that maybe somebody who's not as experienced in going against those type of bases are more apt to 1 star, and so you're able to increase in trophies a lot more than if you had a regular base. So, like maybe running a troll base up to 5,500, and then after 5,500, most of the players are skilled enough to be able to overcome the trolliness, for example, of invis towers. And then you're going to have to look at maybe switching to something that's a little more anti-meta versus something that's relying solely on the fact that the attacker just hasn't gone against this type of base a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a whole new world. It's kind of really exciting to me. Because
It's a lot of fun.
it's
Yeah.
like it's your own mini war every day. And I didn't
Mhm.
really anticipate that. And because you're just like either, um, like every attack I'm going, invested in it, which is kind of fun.
So one thing, and I know that you don't have a problem with this, but something that uh, players can get caught up in is like how high they are in the rankings, and like everybody does different. Everybody's better at some things than others, and it is a unique skill to be able to look at a base and in 30 seconds see everything that you need to see in order to funnel correctly and in order to know which side of the base to enter from, in order to know how to attack that base, and to be able to make all of those decisions in 30 seconds. Like that
Yeah.
is really high skill to be able to do that successfully on an ongoing basis. Like I do much better in CWL and regular clan wars where I'm able to look at a base for 30 minutes, much less 30
Really?
seconds. And I can say, oh, if I didn't think about this, so if I entered from here, if I take out the queen here, then it's difficult for me to think through all of the scenarios that my brain wants to think through in just 30 seconds. So because of that, like don't worry about the rankings. Like the rankings are
Yeah.
what they are, you know?
I like it to kind of just like push push myself, but I don't expect to get up there, especially not without a lot of practice because this hitting in that 30 seconds is really tough. And
It
that's where
is.
I was saying like that hesitation has been killing me like and it been hitting it in war too a couple times where um I'm not certain where like something takes a turn and then I'm going to redrop things or switch up my plan a little bit. And that's been costing me that 1 or 2% a lot of the time, which is a little sad. But but
Well,
it's getting better, like, because you're just recognizing,
yes, that exactly.
um, yeah, oh, I've hit this type of bass, uh, before, and but for me, I think I do a little bit better in that environment than I do when I do like a plan, because when I do a plan, it's like that is almost ingrained. And so when something goes wrong with a plan, then it's like it takes me a little bit longer to be on the fly.
Well, and you brought it up, like, base ID is such a high skill expression in Clash of Clans, and the more bases that you hit, the better base ID you will have. So one of the interesting things in Legend League bases is most Legend League bases are built to withstand whatever the meta happens to be at the time. And so there aren't going to be a lot of, trickery going on. I mean, you might have some trickery going on in some Legend League bases, but overall, in general, Legend League bases are going to be built to withstand the spam attack, the majority attack, whatever that may be. And as you get better at base ID, you're going to recognize that a lot of base builders will use trick A, or will place bombs here in general because that's what defends against the majority of players. And you're going to learn how to enter bases just based on the majority. And you're going to be able to, oh, I can take this section of the base out with this, or I can take this section of the base out with this. And your base ID is going to click faster and faster because you'll see commonalities between Legend
Yeah.
League bases, and you'll know how to hit things because you've done it 300 times in the past. Oh, I've hit this type of base 300 times. I know how to do this. And
Yeah.
maybe there's minor adjustments, but this base looks a lot like the other 300 bases that I've hit up to this point.
I was watching Shock's stream.
Hmm.
Um, like a replay yesterday, and he's like, oh, he's trying a different army, going in and hitting these bases, and like, oh, I'm gonna swing back over, and I'm like, oh wow, like I got a ways, with, like, it's so cool how people can see that ID and just be able to kind of make it work and flip things around. It's just mind blowing.
I think I think you will see, if I mean, doing Legend League hits, every day, maybe spending a couple hours in FC clans here and there. Like, I think within a 6-month period, you're going to see a massive jump in your ability to base ID and your ability to know where to funnel, where to hit. You're going to be able to recognize which troop comp is working best for you. So maybe we've talked about this before, maybe it's not exactly the meta, maybe it's just a little bit off meta, but because you're seeing the base from Scotty827's perspective, your meta, Scotty827's meta, which uses super minions when nobody else does, is able to get down bases that nobody else is necessarily able to get down, but that's because of the experience that you will gain over the next 6 months. Like, I think over the next 6 months, we're gonna see we're gonna see a pro Scotty827 just because of the experience you're gonna gain over that
I'm gonna
time.
try to make you proud. I was just looking at my base here, is like, kind of thinking back, and I'm like, I remember that first war where I think it was, yeah, I dropped a Yeti to get targeted, to cross over here and behind the flame flinger, and I was like, whoa.
Right?
I had some fancy footwork. Now I'm like, that's part of my everyday kind of thing. Like, I'm like, yeah, I am making progress. I'm gonna make you proud,
Yeah, and you'll
and you'll
start
be
to
our.
notice little things. Like, so one of the things, a mistake that a lot of players make, for example, is whenever they're using a siege barracks, like, they'll just drop the siege barracks down on the base. When if you look at a pro attacker, a lot of times they'll bring a rage barbarian or even just a regular barbarian for that archer tower that just happens to be within range of that siege barracks. They'll drop a couple barbarians, then drop the siege barracks. So that way the archer tower doesn't lock onto the siege barracks and take its health down massively
Oh
before all of the
shit!
wizards can come out. So little things like that, like
I didn't.
knowing and learning these little details will help you be more successful in the long run.
I'm glad you just taught me
You're
that.
I see players make that, or for instance, whenever you're
Oh
doing a
my
queen
god!
walk, or whenever you're planning on hitting your queen ability, looking at the distance that the air defense is from the edge of the wall. And if it's 4 tiles away from the wall, then your queen is not going to be able to reach it, and that air defense is going to slowly pick off your healers. So knowing that you need to wait a little bit longer to hit your queen ability if you can, or have a plan. So if your queen's going to walk by that air defense, plan on bringing your RC into that direction, or bring a couple rocket loons to take out that AD. That way your queen will last longer for the rest of the raid. Like little details like that are things that you're
Yeah.
just slowly going to improve upon.
No way. Wow. And I'm looking for it's like seriously, I probably could have saved. Oh my God, it's kind of embarrassing, but
Yeah. Well, and who
people have
knows?
probably seen me do
Like
some crazy things.
I think 11 wizards come out of that siege barracks. I think it's 13 wizards. Well, if the archer tower starts shooting it, well, that drains the health of the siege barracks to where maybe only 4 or 5 wizards come out. Well, that's a massive amount of firepower that you could have behind your P.E.K.K.A.s, just destroying shit left and right. If I had only put down a barbarian, before I put down the siege barracks, because what's going to happen? Throw down the barbarian, archer tower targets the barbarian takes a second or two for it to hit, and by the time you put your siege barracks down, the P.E.K.K.A. pops out, and then the archer tower targets the P.E.K.K.A. rather than targeting the siege barracks. But in the long run, you're able to get a lot more destruction done because of that.
Yeah. That I just I have been switching between those machines a lot more, kind of going with what the base needs and figuring that out. And I'd just been using the flinger for so long that I don't think I really used the siege much before. So
It's powerful.
it
Very
is,
powerful.
and
Yeah, that level 5.
not the way I've been using it.
You use your P.E.K.K.A.? It's a
But
big old P.E.K.K.A.
you know how I like a pop P.E.K.K.A.
Pops out of that
But
siege barracks.
yeah, I just thought that like this I just didn't think about it targeting. There's I can couple attacks, yep. For the most part, I should be all right, but I think those are little tweaks.
Little tweaks. And you'll notice those. So as you practice, as you get better, like you'll watch Clash of Clans creators like Shock. Shock is a perfect example of little things that he does that maybe he doesn't even point out, but he does these little things, and you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Why did you wait? Why did you put your invis spell a little to the right? Oh, wait, that's because you recognized that the warden was going to destroy this mine on the left, and then he was going to target the archer tower to the right. So you placed your invis spell a little bit to the right. That way, the warden would be covered the whole 4.5 seconds that the invis spell is good for. Like little things like that, you're going to notice. And every little iteration or something that you learn is just going to make you that much better of a player.
That reminds me of your Super Bowler video that I watched. That was like one of the biggest aha moments, I think, in the last year. It's like you're talking about, like where I saw it in that where I was like, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was like,
Something, and it'll be amazing when it clicks.
oh,
You're gonna have that moment where you're like, oh my
I have
gosh,
been
I
doing
will
this wrong
from
for
now on,
years.
I will always be checking to see if where I'm planning to put my siege barracks down, if it's within range of a defense. If it is
Yeah,
within range of a defense, I got to make sure I have a plan to throw down a couple barbarians, so that way that siege barracks isn't targeted. Little things like that, little changes that you're going to make over time.
that's what's cool about like um talking to people about this is that everybody sees things a little bit different, like you said, and like we've talked about. But once you see it
You
the way
can't
they
unsee
see
it,
it, you can't unsee it.
right?
Yeah. And it's so that it's just like, I don't know, when we talk every week and it's just been like, wow, we get done and I just like kind of look at the game different. Like, wow, and then think about how maybe I used to see it. But I don't like to dwell in that mindset too long.
We're all growing, we're all learning.
I should see if I have any of my old replays. I bet I do somewhere.
Uh,
Unrecorded.
I was gonna think, because I know that Halligan did a video of us with the Sound Snipers War, but I don't think he showed one of your attacks.
I know I
But
have one somewhere.
yeah,
I'll have to figure it out. Well, should we do shout outs?
yes. So, I mean, there's been so many amazing people that I want to shout. Of course, you number one shout out for this amazing past year. Thank you for your graciousness, um, your pleasantness, your genuineness, like all of that. Huge shout out to you. And I will continue listening to the podcast. Hope to come back on, one day
You're
down
gonna
the
be
road. You're gonna be
you know
teaching me what I need to learn and catching me up on all these new strategies that are gonna be evolving.
it's gonna be a month and a half, and you're gonna pull your car over on the interstate and go, I can't take it anymore. I'm coming back. You
Maybe.
can't be doing that. No. What the hell are you thinking? No, I'm just kidding.
Huge shout out to Chewy. Chewy was one of my first YouTube followers. He's always commented on my videos. He's been a massive support. He as well has given me ideas on this new venture. I can't thank Chewy enough. Like our brains think very much alike, and we've talked about that, what that means for interaction, what that means for life. So huge thank you and shout out to Chewy. GCBC. So GCBC was early coming over to House of L, and I know that you have joked that he showed up and we made him
Captured him.
co-leader, so he felt like he had to stay.
Captured him.
But he has been massively supportive. I can't thank him enough. Can't thank him enough.
He came
Um,
in. He came in for breakfast, and I made him a cook.
yeah. Get over the stove. So obviously, huge shout out to all our guests that we've had on the podcast that we've been able to interview.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
wild.
Ghost Knight, Magic Junior. A huge shout out to BD Legend. BD Legend came on the podcast as well, but he's been really integral in my YouTube journey. So he's given me lots and lots of feedback about ways that I can improve as a YouTuber in general. So huge shout out to him.
Oh, I thought you were going to say herpes.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I did want to shout out. So my wife has a coworker who found, I'm not sure if he found the YouTube channel first or the podcast first or what, but his name is Chris. I don't think I've ever met Chris, but Chris is constantly commenting about funny stuff that was said or whatever, and my wife finds it entertaining as well. And I don't know if I've met Chris or not. I've been to a few of my wife's of her work events and functions, but evidently he's a fan. So huge
That's
shout out
awesome.
to Chris, who's a coworker of my wife. And
This
then
this is awesome because that just means that the next time you have to go to something with your wife and you're like, yeah, I don't really feel, that you're going to most likely have a clash, or that you'd be like, hey, let's go over here and talk. And you can just sit and nerd out and live it up.
and then my biggest shout out, of course, goes to my wife and son. Like my wife understands me better than anybody. She, puts up with me and my nerd out sessions, my content. Like she is great with us, coming together on Sunday mornings, doing our podcast together. Like she's the most amazing person in the entire world. And then my son, who loves watching my YouTube content, mostly just the funny parts.
And does he?
So like I showed him the whole foot fetish video and he found it hilarious.
Mm.
And I'm planning on doing my new passion and my new YouTube journey with him included, so that hopefully I can teach him some financial concepts at the same
Oh,
time.
that's a good idea.
Like he just turned 10 years old, and so he's asking questions, he's learning about this stuff. And so I'm wanting to use this as a tool to hopefully help him be successful later in life. He's my board game buddy. Um, I just love him so much.
You could
So
use him as an example if he misspends his money.
yeah, I could.
Look, how do you
Well,
feel right now for misspending? No, I'm just.
no, and that's actually a great idea because we talked about me doing, shorts of, daily tips from Tip kind of a thing. And I think that's right down that alley. Like I think that's a genius idea.
That's very
But
cool.
and then a huge shout out to all the Clash listeners, all the guys in L. Like I would be remiss to not mention everybody who's been very, very supportive. It's just been a great big family, and I'm very thankful for the support that I've received over the years.
Well, my shout outs. Um, I will say shout out to your wife and um, family and your son for sharing you with us. Uh, I know that it takes a lot of time, and you've put a lot of time and effort into L and everything, um, and I just really appreciate it. And I've really looked forward to our conversations, and I think, and my shout out obviously it's to you. I think that when I look back in the future, I will say that you are one of my pivotal people. Um, that our interaction and kind of everything that happened in the last year was really kind of like a turning point, kind of like when it most needed it. It's like I said, like kind of like a story, and you have been an amazing friend, and you really live up to who you are and present yourself to be. And when I'm thinking about this, I mean, this is kind of like our good, you know, goodbye for now on the podcast, but I think about this more as like this last year is really like the beginning of our friendship, to be honest. I mean, like we were, not the beginning, but the early part of our friendship. Like, to be honest, like I mean, I think we've really grown over the last year, and I just can't thank you like enough for I could do a whole I could do a whole series called Thank You Tip. Um, and so I just thank you very much. And um, I look forward to catching up in the future with the listeners too, to hear what you've been up to, and um, uh, they can check out your content. Big shout out to Chewy. Uh, this stuff was all going on. I think, like, we were figuring with the episode, and CWL and Tip was stepping away. And Chewy just kind of came in and was really the glue, I think, like, uh, and nobody Tip wanted to like tell everybody, like, and so we hadn't really put out the news, and Chewy just like stepped it up like a pillar, like the it was just very, very, very appreciated, more than I can say. And so thank you, Chewy. And the listeners, it's been a great first year back. And thinking about 2025 is exciting to me. So I'm excited to continue on, um, and thanks for welcoming Tip and I um, so openly. Um, and thanks Swim for stepping up this last week, in need of an emergency episode after our last one, to have to let people have something to listen to. So thank you very much, and that's about what I can think of at this point, without without getting too emotional. So like I said earlier, I think that um, this episode is definitely gonna be called "That's What DeLoreans Are For," because we get to send Tip into the future, and this time, as he has welcomed me, as I've stepped out of the past, over the last year. Um, so uh, in the meantime, you can get a hold of us, Clash Clans Podcast at gmail.com, or Clash Clans Podcast. Um, and so until some point in the future, my dear friend Tip, Keep it clashy.
I wasn't able to say it last time without breaking, but for now, the last time, for now, keep it clashy.
Skilly beep 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 skilly beep.
Okay, where's that DeLorean? All right, let's see what Tippy sent back. Oh, picture of the new heroes. Oh, she looks like a real